A gorilla was on the cliff, but a 90-year-old woman arrived, and he did the unthinkable. The woman was 90 years old. He lived in a simple house made of mud and wood, built decades earlier. When he was still, she used to carry water on her head and firewood on her shoulders. Today, she walked slowly, leaning on a. He would always follow the same short path to a clearing where he used to collect his staff, leaves and roots. That day, something disrupted the routine. A deep sound echoed from the direction of the cliff. It wasn't wind, it wasn't a bird, it was a gorilla's vocalization. The woman stopped. He remained motionless for a few seconds. Then he slowly turned his body and began walking towards the sound. The path was uneven, with loose stones and exposed roots. Every step required care. As she approached the edge of the forest, she caught sight of the scene. An adult gorilla was standing a few meters from the precipice. The large body occupied almost the entire narrow passage between two rocks. Right behind him, partially hidden, was a puppy. The little creature slipped on the damp ground, unable to steady its paws. Marks on the ground indicated that they had tried to cross that section and were trapped by the slope of the cliff. The gorilla maintained a rigid posture. Its back was arched, arms spread out to the sides. It was a clear position of protection. He wasn't making any progress. He didn't back down either. The woman remained about 30 meters away. He didn't scream. It didn't happen. He simply observed. Experts describe this type of behavior as runner defense. The adult blocks any approach while trying to keep the puppy behind him, preventing it from getting closer. Slip or expose yourself to the void. The puppy tried to move. It slid a few centimeters. The gorilla responded immediately, pulling the little one closer with its arm. Falling there would mean almost certain death. The woman placed the stick on the ground. He took a deep breath. There were no other residents nearby, no forest rangers, no team, only her, and two animals trapped between rock and abyss. She took a slow step forward. The gorilla turned its head toward her. The dark eyes followed every movement. The distance decreased to 20 meters. The woman stopped again. The fog began to rise from the valley. The air grew heavy. At that moment, there was still no action. Evaluation only. On one side, a mother trying to keep her cub alive. On the other hand, there was an elderly woman who had lived long enough to know when to move on and when to wait. The balance of that scene depended on decisions made in silence. The woman kept her body leaning slightly forward, using the stick as a third hand. Foothold, the terrain became more unstable as it approached the cliff. Small stones would come loose underfoot and roll down until they disappeared into the void. The gorilla followed their every move. It wasn't making any progress. He wasn't vocalizing loudly. I was just watching. The cub remained clinging to the adult's body, its paws slipping on the damp ground. The little one tried to steady himself, but the tilt made any adjustment difficult. The mother, he kept one arm extended behind him, creating a physical barrier between the puppy and the edge. The woman stopped again, now about 15 meters away. He slowly lowered the stick and placed it on the ground. Then he carefully crouched down, keeping his hands visible. This type of posture, low, open, and without sudden movements, is frequently used by local residents when crossing territories of great apes, reduces perception. It avoids threats and defiance. The gorilla responded with a slight lateral movement, repositioning its body to maintain its position. The protected cub, his back remained arched. Her arm muscles were tense. The woman took a small piece of dried root, a common food in the region, from her pocket. No, he threw it. He simply placed it on the ground in front of him and took a half step back. He waited. The gorilla did not move toward the food. The puppy tried to stand up once more. It slipped. The mother pulled the little one closer to the trunk and emitted a low, short sound, used usually to calm young children. The wind picked up, bringing fog from the valley. Visibility began to decrease. The woman realized that time was becoming a critical factor. If the ground remained damp, the puppy could slip again. She took 2 more steps forward, very slowly, always keeping her gaze down, avoiding direct eye contact. Now it was less than 10 meters away. The gorilla took a step forward. The space between them decreased. The woman stopped immediately. He raised one hand in an open gesture, showing that he was carrying nothing but the own body. For several seconds, nobody moved. Communication occurred solely through posture. The woman then did something simple. He dragged the stick across the ground, pulling dry leaves and small branches closer to its base. From a rock, creating a rougher and more stable surface. He didn't touch the animals, it only modified the terrain. The gorilla observed the movement. The puppy tried to place its paw on the freshly cleaned area. It managed to get a little more grip. The mother adjusted her body position, using her own weight to block the side that was more steep cliff. The woman took a step back, then another one. He left the space clear. The cub remained standing for a few seconds longer than before. The situation was still fragile, but for the first time since the beginning, there was a small margin of stability. Balance was being built centimeter by centimeter, and the mother was beginning to realize that that human presence wasn't there to take over. He was there to clear the way. The cub tried to advance again. This time, the paw found a firm grip on the leaves and branches that the woman had dragged. The little one slipped only a few centimeters, but managed to steady himself. The mother immediately repositioned her body, creating a solid barrier between the cub and the empty. The woman remained motionless. He didn't come any closer. He simply observed. The adult gorilla then began to perform short, precise movements. Pushing he held the puppy with his forearm, guiding it inch by inch towards a wider strip of land, firmly behind the rocks. It took several minutes. The puppy fell once. The mother pulled. He tried again. It achieved. When they finally reached stable ground, away from the edge, the gorilla stopped. It slowly turned its body. He looked at the woman. There was no progress. There was no aggression. The mother remained there for a few seconds, with the cub pressed against her belly. Then it emitted a low sound. He called the little one, and both disappeared among the vegetation on the hillside. The woman was left alone, with the baton in hand. My knees were trembling. My heart was racing. Days later, residents of the region found traces of the group heading towards dense forest, small footprints alongside larger marks. The puppy was walking. No further declines were recorded. No attack occurred. Nothing became news. But one cub returned to the forest, and that was enough. The Tornado and the forest remained the same. The cliff is still there. The wind is still blowing. But in that stretch of damp stone, something was left marked without needing a sign. A 90-year-old woman did not try to control nature. She simply created space, and a mother knew how to use it. Perhaps that's what we call a miracle. It's not something magical, but small decisions made at the right time. Now tell me, write in the comments. Perhaps the most powerful being in this story is Aunt the gorilla. Not even the puppy. Not even the cliff. Perhaps it's the woman. 90 years of life did not give her any extra physical strength. They didn't provide any equipment. They offered no guarantees. They gave them something rare, calm. While many would have run, she stayed. While fear tried to take over, she observed. While nature seemed closed off, it created space. And that was enough. Sometimes, saving someone doesn't mean carrying them in your arms. It's not about making noise. It's not about being a hero. Saving means recognizing the right moment to act, and the right time to stop. The cub returned to the forest. The mother went on her way, and that lady returned home with the cane in her hand and a story that almost nobody saw. But you saw. And if this story touched you, stay with me, because the next one is even more powerful. Go ahead and leave a like. Become a channel member to support this project. Or leave a "it was totally worth it" right down here. This helps more than you think. See you in the next story.